Much love, many blessings. We're back again after a short break it's not part two, but we'll be moving on to water signs. So that means we're going to be starting out with Cancers. We'll be moving into Scorpios and Pisces. For this one, I didn't bookmark a message. When I actually started the Aquarius season, I actually thought normally I usually just go through everything, but this time I think I got last month mixed up with the first one, and I only ended up doing half of it. And then when I got to it, I was like, damn, I thought I already had actually did the preliminary initial spirit call for this Aquarius season for all the signs, but then I realized I only did half of them. So we'll actually be doing pretty much the whole process, and then we'll just elaborate more on that. Wow, okay. I'm assuming this is definitely initial energy jumping out. See, 6 of Cups, so... Okay. 6 of Cups, a lot of energy jumping out. So they will, for the water signs, I feel just across the board, just all the water signs, 6 of Cups is jumping out. So I'll kind of keep that to the side. But just initially, I feel the sense that there's a call or a self-check to ask yourself, what are you investing your energy in as far as the health of the connections that you have? You maybe feel this kind of goes back to that fueling the relationships and feeling like you have to fill up the tank for someone else before you can even have fun for something that you're both agreeing to put in on. So this is really a call or a passion awareness check to just make sure that the things that are personally moving or move your waters, your personal psyche, what kind of quality of energy are you putting into the development and the growth of the journey for those things? So it's definitely a call to kind of pay attention to that. But let me pull, I'm using actually the fountain deck. I'm actually synergizing the fountain deck with the hoodoo deck. It's been very interesting. I don't really see a lot of people use the fountain deck, but it's very celestial in nature. That's really the best way I can put it. Channeling for the water signs, channeling for Cancer right now, kind of just tapping in. Cancer is definitely a sign of the 4th house, so we feel that security, that mother nurturing nature, governed by the moon, so we definitely feel a lot of reflective or just focuses on the past as it relates to where we are at this present time, and if it's conducive for us. Let's just kind of get it rolling because I want to get these out and then elaborate on them more. So for Cancers, we have the 9 of Wands. I'm kind of feeling an inversion feeling. You may be asking yourself during this time how much work that you feel like you're putting in, or if you're actually being the aggressor, or if you've been being the aggressor in the situations. There might be a little irritation or not necessarily irritation, but just some unsettled shaking of your comfortable norms within your... what I'm really feeling is not necessarily family, but it's the people that you... It's really the better word is the people that you trust, because it's not all family, but particularly the people that you're confiding in as it relates to your success, and also knowing if you're doing the right thing is the best way to put it. But I don't want to really elaborate into that too much because I know there's a lot more that ties into this. Scorpio, the world, they kind of sit in the same way. The world, there's definitely major arcana here, major shifts taking place. They may feel in a bad way, actually, but everything that you're actually seated on or that comprises what turns your reality is taking a bump. Some things may be taking an L, but because you're the sign of death, if it is taking an L, it's only to convert it or to transform it into something that's more useful. So definitely kind of sitting with that energy, Scorpio. And Pisces is dealing with 7 of Wands, so there's definitely a need of feeling challenged, or just to make strides to make use of the energy before it can be compromised. Across the board for the water signs, what I am feeling is a sense of definitely significant emotional shifts, whether it's emotional maturity or development taking place, and how are we handling getting and not getting the things that we want in our lives. But overall, for the collective of water signs, there is this strong sense that you feel like the time is running out, so to speak, or that just certain opportunities or energies that's available will kind of expire, so to speak. The opportunity to kind of pass you up. We'll definitely delve into that more. Feeling a lot more chakra activations in this. We'll definitely pull for. I'll start with Cancer. That Nine of Wands is really strong because I'm also feeling an inversion in that. So like when we deal with the Nine of Wands, especially when we're dealing with Cancer, Nine of Wands is kind of like that. Are we being too closed off? Or because Nine of Wands is kind of like that. Okay, I'm kind of like on alert, kind of making sure it's me versus them. Because the only times that you feel when you're around comfortable people, you let your guard down, so to speak. You know that on some level, even if you don't like everything about these people around you, you can trust them to some degree. So you're going to kind of relax your shoulders. But when you're in a setting where you feel like you're clearly the odd man out, whether it's because like it's you versus a group of people, or just we're holding a perception that you don't hold, and we're aware, all of us are aware that you are not one of us. That energy makes you be like kind of, whoa, put on your guard, because I don't know what y'all are going to do. So like when we had the Nine of Wands, it's also just kind of being alert, or the need to be alert. But for you, Cancer, I'm feeling this inversion. So that feeling is there. You should be feeling alert, or the sense that you need to get defensive, but you're not actually doing it. You're looking at it's like your spider sense tingled, and then when you see the thing come around the corner into your field of vision, you're like, what? Like, it's just a little cute innocent puppy. And then you're like, why is it triggering? And then it actually turns into some bullshit. But the point is that the first sense that you felt was correct. But when you saw it confirm with what you were matching the sense up to, you dismissed it. So it's showing that you're, in a sense, spirit is saying that you are allowing something into your space that is threatening, or is maybe just not conducive for your personal walls. And there's a need to kind of take a look at why, or if you're just having a blind spot in the situation. Okay, Cancer, for you, forgiveness. So there's definitely two pulls on this. One that you may need to actually be more forgiving. I feel an inversion. So we may have been making enemies with people when there's a time to actually make peace now. That Nine of Wands makes me feel a rivalry or competing for something. You may be competing for something and see somebody as an enemy, or you may be dealing with someone who is a frenemy, or someone that could be more than what they are, instead of just being trauma partners or trauma friendships, or friendships, negative friendships, where we are in agreement and our pain gives us a commonality of our enjoyment, but you're enjoying misery. So it's definitely a time to switch the narrative to allow your heart chakra to grow. For you, Scorpio, there's some inner child repair work going on. So we're focusing on So we're focusing on the inner child and the womb, as across, not specific to gender, but there are some damages to the inner child, because sometimes there's some damage to the womb. So some of this damage can be from just allowing times when you allowed your vulnerability or creativity to take flight, and it wasn't met with success, or it was taken advantage of, and you kind of put it in a box. And because you put that in a box, those very things that you normally use to give you that life and that abundance are also in disrepair as well. The very things that give you your essence, or to draw people in, or to draw those things in the universe to you, are not being utilized because of fear and an inability to step back into your source power. So there are definitely some shifts going on during this time for that energy to kind of come back into the space. I'll elaborate on that more, but kind of moving forward, just so we can get the initial down. For Pisces, we're definitely seeing some heart chakra activations here. So we're essentially trying to just really balance back out from the state of where we found things. We may have done things to our body where we kind of find ourselves kind of back, not at square one, but it feels like, how did I end up back here with the work that I put in, both whether with our body or with our how we're seeing ourselves, because I keep saying body, but I know it's dealing with emotional. So it's a lot of how we are feeling about ourselves, or how the people that we're allowing to be within our connections and in our balance, are they balancing us? Are we having harmony and peace with those people and those connections, or is it creating hardship, or are we being Seven of Wands, compelled to feel like we have to hurry up and do something with the energies being presented with us? Okay, let's bring it in full circle. So definitely pulling from the Divine Oracle, Divine Energy Oracle, to kind of wrap up these Pisces signs. And then I really want to get into it, so we'll definitely be channeling from the Hoodoo Tarot to really just kind of crack down and delve into the signs here. All right, for Cancer, strengthen your gifts. This is definitely a call for you to not make small into those things that have been coming to the forefront, instead of shying away, to actually start tapping into those things and bringing those things to the forefront. For Scorpio, be true to yourself. This is a call speaking to that inner child. Sometimes when we don't honor our inner child because we don't want to cause conflict, we create that inner conflict. And the inner child, as powerful as it is only powerful in what it's able to do. It's still a very sensitive space. And when you don't protect that space or create the sacred container for the inner child to have a healthy connection, it gets forgotten and starts to wither or just become weak. It starts to become harder to hear the voice. And when the inner child starts to diminish, things go along with it. There's the things that are affected by that is your intuition, your imagination, your creativity, your ongoing, I want to say ongoing abundance, but what I'm really trying to say is passive abundance. The abundance that just happens by existing because you have a positive energy field. A lot of those things are affected by the inner child. And when you have a damaged inner child, or an inner child that you feel is secondary or has to wait in the background because it's superfluous or useless, then you have to do the work yourself. When we don't allow our imagination in, then we feel that those mystical things, those fairy tale things don't exist. That spiritual stuff, that things that you can't see doesn't exist. So that means we have to do it ourselves. That's why a lot of adults look miserable, because they're always working. They're always working. They always have to work. They always have to do it themselves because they don't rely on their inner child. Pisces, seek hidden treasures. Okay, so for you Pisces, there is a lot of work, and you feel like things, like I said, you can feel like things are expiring. Seek hidden treasures is also about finding, for you, you're trying to find value in things, because the things that you told yourself were valuable are not as rose-colored at the end of the road as you thought that they would be. Or you're here now and you're kind of like, well, this is still kind of similar to what I was in, but the high of working towards that thing is not as good as the actual end destination. It may mean that you set your intentions on something that may have been less than what you actually deserve, or when you finally receive the intention, it means that it's confirmation that when you had the intention in the beginning, that it was made from a rushed space, or a space that you felt that was good at the time. But everything seems good on the surface. So if you're seeking any treasure, that means you're going back and you're looking and you're trying to find more than what was already there. And with the Seven of Wands being there, it also can feel like there's a sense or a need to hurry up to do that, because it can mean that you feel like you're competing. If not competing against other people, you're competing against something that is stacked against you, such as time or worry or a deadline. Okay, so now that we have that, I really want to kind of take it back to Cancer so that we can delve into the deeper specifics of what's just transpiring during the Aquarius season. So definitely let's crack into it. I'll be elaborating more on the Nine of Wands, just kind of to refresh the memory, because I know I have been kind of putting out a lot of energy. So as I get ready to channel for the more specific breakdown, so we have the Nine of Wands. So we have Nine of Wands, so this is really just suggesting that fine-tuned work is not just any work, but it's passionate work. So it's stuff that you've been working hard at. It's stuff that you believe strongly in. And when these things are damaged or broken down, they're not easy to fix. It's not easy to build a pyramid. It's not fucking blocks stacked on top of one another. It's blocks with very complicated science behind it. So it's a lot of high-level math, high-level physics, high-level almost fringe science sometimes. So that means the point is that all these things are coming together, are very intricate to make this happen. So when it doesn't happen, or it's created and then something damages it or causes damage to it, it's that much harder to fix it. So in much the same way, the family values and things that you hold very important or close to your heart are very, very delicate, intricate things. And when people come up and destroy those or damage them, you don't really have a lot of room to open up or to forgive. And somebody has been utilizing or been feeding you information that has led you to feel like it could be trusted, and you're now realizing that information was not correct. and you may be holding a certain energy towards these people and or yourself for being naive in those situations, and now you're trying to figure out how to do it on your own. I didn't want to slide out like that. So we have the confirmation of strengthen your gifts for you, Cancer. This is really truly a call to not make small with the newness that's coming into your space. It can be easy to allow the major decisions or just the major understandings to be just put off on somebody else. You know, I'll do what I'm working on here. I'll let you handle that stuff there. That's kind of the energy that you've been working with. But the thing is, when you allow people to do that so that you can be comfortable, they are making those decisions for you. They are making those thoughts. They're handling all those affairs for you, and you're not actually handling the affairs directly. And you're going back behind the work, and you thought that you had somebody that was supposed to be running your errands, but in actuality, they're only doing a portion of the job, and they're not necessarily representing you in the way that you would like to be represented when you actually look into the situation. So the Nine of Wands for you and strengthening your gifts is really also showing as well that you've been having some difficulties with letting go. Letting go, like it can be hard to let go of naivety. It can be hard to let go of feeling deceived. It can be hard to let go that you believe somebody had the best interest for you, and you realize that their interest was not necessarily for you at all. Or you may be dealing with people who were trying to do the best thing for you, but didn't know how to admit their shortcomings to you, and you may be realizing that now, and it's really just a stronger time for you to strengthen your gifts. This means that it's time for you to do it on your own. It's time for you to either address the situation or do it on your own. Okay, Cancer, so what we have for you is the Freeman. So we have the Fool energy coming up. Eight of Baskets coming up as well. It's time for you to do it on your own. Eight of Sticks. So the Fool, definitely a lot of new swirling activation going on, but you may not feel like you're in control of it. That sensation coming from Spirit just means that it's new to you, and you are also being overwhelmed by a vast amount of energy, and you may even be new in the situation, so you have to, this is a reset for you, and you can't bank on the old things that were brought to the table to have any value in the situations that are driving these new dynamics. And that's because you have to put value. Anytime the old things you have don't have value, it means that the new things you have to have a created value. It's time to start instilling value in it, kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin developed value over time. You have to put value into something when it's new. It doesn't just have that value because you're passionate about it. So that means that there's some work that has to be done here. Eight of Baskets confirmation on top of that is showing that somebody has to put in the work because there hasn't been being anything done. There's a heavy hold of energy and available energy that can go into it, but only one part of it has that intensity. So either your mind is in it and you're not doing anything in the physical because you've got so much investment mentally or in the fantasy of the situation, or your heart is so invested in a situation that you're not mentally able to discern it fully or clearly. There's a bridging that's supposed to be taking place here so that you can take action. Eight of Sticks, ultimately, there's so much built up energy that at this point, there's no more signs or energies or things that will come to you that will actually make you go. The only thing that will actually make you go is for you to actually do it yourself. The forgiveness is coming into the picture, is the forgiveness from Spirit to allow yourself to actually be grown, to allow yourself to grow up, to allow yourself to actually do for yourself instead of be dependent. The family security, the fourth house vibe sometimes can feel like when you're left with your independence, your true independence, that it can feel like an isolation or coldness. But in actuality, in this instance, is actually an empowerment because the comforts that you had around were also, I want to say, for lack of a better word, debilitating comforts. They were comforts that kept you complacent and keep you where you are, and they don't allow you to grow. They really put a crutch. They put a crutch on you that has long-term detrimental effects on your mental ability, or your mental willpower, and I want to say the spirit, the attrition of your spirit. It's time for you to actually just suck it up so that you can actually make those strides and come into your fullness in a new way. And once you actually start developing or strengthening these gifts, because it's not a curse, it will get better with time, but you have to spend that time actually working and developing it. Let this resonate within your energy field, Cancer, and really in a strong way as you're still moving through this Aquarius season. Be thankful and appreciative of that Cancerian shell that always provides you a home, and ask yourself how you can strengthen the things that other people don't have that are unique to you, whatever those things may be, even if it's most likely your assuredness and solidarity. Allow the source of that to be fuel for you so that you can't be duped and you can actually continue to empower yourself. Much love and many blessings. Okay, moving on to Scorpio. Let's kind of bring this into the mold. Again, I do want to say that the Six of Cups came out. So overall, across all the water signs in the collective, is a call within the awareness to just bring mindfulness to the friendships and connections that you are sharing and putting into. How are they contributing to you, and how are you contributing to those connections? And should you actually be putting that energy in? Because when we see Six of Cups come up, there's definitely that reflecting on what brought us to this point and the investment that's making the connection this. When we see Six of Cups come up, you should really ask yourself, when you think on the present moment of a connection, both platonic or otherwise, sexual, a project or anything, you should really be able to ask yourself, okay, what is the balance of what I put in and what the other person or the situation is putting in? Do I enjoy, or is this sufficient enough for me? And is this fair? Is this a fair exchange? If I'm happy with this, then cool. But this is a self-check, and you'll be feeling these things during this Aquarius season, revisiting old connections and situations and feelings, and asking yourself, is this healthy for me to maintain and hold this energy for? Or is it draining me? Is it polluting my psyche? For you, Scorpio, like I said, what we touched on here was the world. There's definitely an inversion feeling in this. So this is a call that the energy surrounding you, it's not that it's out of your control, not like the Fool or the Freeman. You actually have control of it, but you feel like there's delays, or there seems to be you standing in the way of yourself, so to speak, because when you have the world, there is a sense that you know or are aware of your power. But feels like there's somebody standing in your way, or there's just simply delays, and you're trying to figure out what it is that's preventing you from actually making the full use of your energy. But with that being said, while I was touching on the inner child, damage to the inner child prevents the full use of your power, because the inner child is the gateway and the portal to all the true essence of our spirituality, a lot of our manifesting force, our imagination. It helps us to guide us in things when we don't know necessarily the answers. It's truly the divining rod or a guiding compass for us. It's time to be true to yourself. These messages are very clear for you, Scorpio. Some of the confusion or the fog of being true to yourself is playing tolerant for situations and people so that you don't be lonely or feel a sense of abandonment. But that abandonment that's giving you that physical security is also robbing you of your spiritual power, and you're supposed to be building up that spiritual power during this time, because you've arrived at a space where it's essentially past the fork in the road or the crossroads, but you started down the path in spirit that you know is correct. Spirit told you it was correct. You already are going down the path, but you listen to your inner child on some like, hey, I'm just going to go down this path because I know that I always trust you and you always lead me right. But you've been going down this path and you're kind of like, well, all this shit's happening and it's not necessarily matching what inner child normally says. Is like, hey, it's cool, I trust you, I'm not going to question it and I'm just going to go. But this time you're kind of like following and trusting, and the only motivation for why you're following is simply from the past fact that when you did it in the past, it always worked out. But in this instance, in this present moment, as you follow and being led by the inner child, you're looking around and you're like, whoa, shit, you're getting bumped by twigs and all types of random shit and stumbling. And you're like, are you sure this is the correct way? And it's kind of like the other time it was, the inner child is saying that. So you're kind of like, okay, can I be myself? Can I trust this? Is this actually going the right way? Why am I not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel if this is the correct way to go? What were the other paths? So for you, Scorpio, it's a lot of energy in truly having faith and trusting. A lot of you are actually, it just goes back to that solar plexus where you have to do a self-check with yourself and holding your hand over your stomach, your solar plexus, your womb, when you're searching for jobs and you're discerning these new connections and deciding if you should be collaborating and pouring this energy into this connection in this kind of way. You need to be holding your hand and taking that deep divine breath. And do you feel calm when you ask yourself, should I put my energy into this new project, this connection, into this job? Are they being truthful and authentic? And are they going to allow me to be my true and authentic self? And we have to start weighing whether or not just is this abundantly or financially or bringing temporal wealth, but is it also equally balanced in bringing me emotional and spiritual abundance and wealth as well? And sometimes when we don't get one, like we'll say like, oh, okay, well, I'm not really seeing much spiritual benefit here, but it is paying the cheese, so I guess I can let that be secondary. But when are we actually making that decision to decide like, okay, well, it's giving me cheese, but it's not really giving me much spiritual. It's really spiritually bankrupt. So I don't know if I'm actually going to do that. Like, when are we making that decision? When are we not playing it down and making emotional and psyche and the things that society tells us aren't as important? Because that's the illusion. Society's saying it's important and you got to focus and you're not supposed to focus on that shit. But when you're sitting by yourself and you're working on that thing and putting that energy into that thing that's actually what you've been telling yourself to led to be important, you don't feel happy. So that means that it is important and that you do need to work on the things that are actually just as a primary within your energy field, because your body doesn't lie. And your body will tell you when it's time to eat. It'll tell you when your energy is low on money. It'll tell you when your energy is low on manifesting that desire that you want, when you need to get a job, if this feels right, if this sex feels right, if all these things feel right or wrong. So every time you feel these sensations and then you start feeling something coming to your awareness, that's your body telling you this either feels good or bad and you should do or not do that. So listening to the external when source is the number one primary, how are you expecting to succeed? How are you expecting to succeed when the inner child doesn't make sense? When your body is communicating things to you that don't seem like they make sense and you're following what seems logical. You're trying to follow what seems logical during a sun season in Aquarius ruled by a planet that is nothing but illogical. You are asking for too much. Mother of baskets, there's an inversion here. You may be being stubborn or too sensitive to the outcomes or as it relates to how you want yourself to be projected and what you want projected within your reality and how you're going about getting it. Six of coins. There's a sense of deserving and having to reach out for these things, and you may not be able to do them for yourself when you're too sensitive. Somebody else may have to do the work for you. That's also why it's difficult for you to claim your power. And when you're in a state where you are not emotionally secure, you are not in a position to actually do those things for yourself. Your divine container is in a state of chaos. Money and abundance and all those things are very light energies. They're very finicky energies, like Lady Luck. Lady Luck makes me think of the energy of abundance met with Uranus energy because it could change at any time. It's also very feminine, and these energies are very bougie. So the state of abundance and miracles and positive things that you're trying to draw to you, in particular abundance, don't have the easiest time coming to you when you're erratic or in a state of chaos. Magic travels the path of least resistance. More deeply, money or things that are related to like the lottery or just winning a big financial surplus. Money is very finicky, so it's more sensitive than just any type of normal magic. So when you are in a state of lack, poverty, consciousness, erraticism, angry, your energy jumping from one state, high, low vibration, money has a hard time reaching the heart chakra or reaching you in the physical because you're not in a state of calm and smooth and flow. Money flows. And yes, people who are corrupt make money, but they're in a smooth state of their authenticity. This is not about alignment. This is not about being bad and bad people being rich and good people being poor. It works the other way around. There's always a flip. It's about harmony and smoothness. If you are erratic, then there's not going to be harmony for money and abundance to flow to you. And deeper than money or symbolically, what money represents is just the symbolic nature of manifesting the things that you want, whether it's financial, money specifically, or if it's just manifesting the intentions that you've been uniquely focused on. You're not manifesting those things to you because you are having a hard time deserving them or making a space for them because you're not utilizing your power. The High Priestess, Miss Ida. So this, in a strong way, is also confirmation as well that the power that you are waiting on has been with you a long time, just in much the same way. Maybe even has been with you since birth or at a very early age and activated at a very early age. Confirmation of the inner child. So these are secret to you and no one else really knows about these abilities. So some of the confidence or your inability to actually express them is because you're not going to get validation on something that nobody else knows about. you have to know, you have to put the value on this, and you have to know its worth, and you have to be strong in that power, which obviously the mother of baskets and an inversion feeling, because there is a sensitivity, but the sensitivity is a curse, not a blessing. And that curse is, a curse is just something that you don't have control over, an energy that you don't have control over. So there's an inversion that you should be benefiting, and you should be riding the high. You should be receiving everything. But until you are more true or working on that path of being true to yourself, the inner child cannot fully bless you with its ability to discern the things that it knows that you want for yourself and for your walk. What you're walking through is a very intricate and delicate minefield of success and failure. And the inner child literally sees the blueprint mapped out on the desert of where to step and where not to step. But because it looks so crazy, you're not necessarily trusting it. And every time you don't trust the inner child, you end up stepping on one of those failures and hit a setback, or just hit a hiccup, or get caught up in some distractions or emotional shit that doesn't allow you to see the situation clearly of the bigger picture. You can thank the Uranus expansive gassy energy for that. But this is a call for you to take it back to source, to take it back to deep source, and to remember and reclaim your power, to go to self, to figure out where the source of your true essence is. And we're seeing Miss Ida not just because of a personal secrets and arcanas, but also because this as it relates to the secrets of what you truly want for yourself and the things that you've been putting to the side. That's why we see the crescent moon, because it's the things that are just beneath the feet, or just resting below the lower part of our self, that we're not necessarily able to see clearly. When the high priestess comes up, there's usually things that could be happening within our space that we're feeling like are further out of reach than they may actually be. So for you, Scorpio, one of the things I will say is that it's really important for you to get out of your emotional bag, to really start claiming your power. There's been a lot of things happening that have been feeling like your friendships, the Six of Cups, your friendships and relationships, especially the ones that are emotionally important for you, are starting to deteriorate. The Aquarius season for all the water signs is a little challenging as it relates to your connections, because Aquarius likes to jump ship emotionally, and that detached nature from emotions is actually very hard on water signs, with maybe the exception of Pisces, depending on how it's benefiting them. It's very hard on water signs because water needs more time to adjust to the emotional shift. The air makes changes on rapidly and suddenly. And with that being the case, where things that you may feel more codependent about, or just feel are a requirement to give you that comfort, are kind of being taken away from you, or is not as readily available for your convenience as you would like. And some of those things maybe making you a little erratic, as Aquarius keeps changing its feelings and state of its nature. You're trying to find some type of constant to give you peace of mind. During this time, it's important for you, Scorpio, to stand on the constants of yourself. The reason why Spirit is saying trust in yourself is because when Uranus energy comes around, the only thing that is constant is self and yourself. So it's time to refer back to self, so that Spirit can help you, and the inner child can help you navigate to what it is that you want during this ever adapting and changing season. Really rooting for you, Scorpio, and the Aquarius season. Definitely just have mindfulness and awareness for the things that you are working towards and want. And if you've been feeling that resistance, kind of do that pause and kind of say, like, have I actually been relying on my power? Let me do that, kind of take that pause and actually see what I can do to empower myself. So I think overall, as we do that and actually make those demands for ourselves and just that awareness check for ourselves, that you should be able to actually apply that energy for your benefit. All right, I'm going to move on to Pisces, kind of touch back on that. Bring these to the forefront here. Let me see. Okay, so for my Pisces, where do we leave off? Right, so I had the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands is showing up for you, Pisces, because like I said, there was definitely this sense of needing to take advantage of energy that feels like the ship is going to sail on. You've been brought back to a point that's kind of like, well, I already invested in this. So now that I'm back here, like, why did I even put into this to begin with? So am I really... did I really get the benefit out of what it is that I created for myself? So yeah, definitely Seven of Wands. We're going to expand on that more. Emotional harmony. So there's definitely a heart chakra space here. I'm seeing the heart chakra come up, but I'm feeling shifts in the root chakra. So usually, like with our system, like when one area is being activated, it can be an indicator that it's doing more work because it's doing the work that something else isn't doing, or it's just oversaturated in general, and we've been putting too much or receiving too much of a thing. But because we're seeing hidden treasures, this sense really makes me feel like we're in a state of rush, or we didn't actually receive what it was that we thought that we were going to receive. So now we're trying to find more. There's not so much a sense of greed, but I do feel a sense that the things that have been being presented to you are kind of just like, it's kind of like that effect when you get a card, like a birthday card, and when you open it, you kind of don't read it, but you just take the money out because, one, you're expecting money, and two, you kind of just are like, all right, okay, where's the shit? And it's like, okay, thanks for the money, you just kind of throw the fucking card on the ground. But seeking hidden treasures means that you're looking for something. So that means that what's in your face or what's come to you isn't necessarily what you want, or you were expecting more, or you didn't think it would be this hard, or just it's losing its value in some kind of way. Anytime you seek means you're going deeper. So in another sense as well, you've been presented with a lot of surface level values and surface level treasures, but when you actually kind of like inspect it, you're kind of like rub the shit and it's like, damn, was that fake gold? You know, it's like painted gold, or it's starting to turn your fucking fingers, a certain color, and you got this jewelry, and you're like, this isn't actually the treasure that I wanted. So now it's like this investigation going into like everything that you did and put your energy into it. It's like, oh damn, like, is this really a treasure? Is this relationship a treasure? Is this job a treasure? Is this thing that I told myself would make me feel good a treasure? Or is it just a temporary comfort? Are all these things temporary comforts? Am I just making myself feel comfortable? You know, so we definitely got to delve into that more, because, Seven of Wands, one thing I will say is, like, when we have Seven of Wands come up, we feel like we're in the position of advantage. It's like, okay, I got to fight, but I'm at least standing on the high ground. So you've been working at this a while, and you maybe even, this is confirmation that you felt things coming to you. So you decided to get yourself ready. It's kind of like, all right, I don't know what this is, but let me get my provisions. Let me get my fucking tissue and, load up on fucking a whole bunch of tissue and pop and shit, and get ready for the, next apocalypse, because you got to have tissue in the apocalypse, and shit like that. So, you already got yourself in the advantageous position. You already gathered together the things, and now people are kind of like coming, and you feel this energy coming, and that energy you feel coming is having to get ready to compete for something that you already prepared for. Like, these people are showing up like, yeah, I want yours. So people want what you have, or you feel like you have to protect what you have to keep it safe and secure. Pisces. So we have Three of Knives, Eight of Coins, and Six of Baskets. All of them have an inversion feeling. Three of Knives, definitely some conflicts with the work that we've done versus the results that we've received. Heart-mind conflicts. You really feel like you're in a worse situation than you no, I'm not going to say you feel like you're in a worse situation than you actually are. You're in a shitty situation, and it's almost comical, because it's like one of those situations where when bad things happen, it's so much bad shit happening that all you can do is laugh. It's kind of like, you plan to go out on a date, you walk outside, it starts raining, you forgot to grab the umbrella. When you try to go back inside, you realize you forgot your keys, but when you go to reach to grab the door, the fucking door closes and locks. You fucking forgot your phone, it's on 1%, make a call, it dies. It's like all this random shit just happens, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, why does it seem like every bad thing is happening? But the inversion, there is an inversion in this feeling, in this energy. So it's like kind of this sense of the Job archetype, like when God tested Job and put him through all that shit. And it's like, okay, I'm experiencing all these things, but what do I have? Is it actually that bad? Is it actually that bad? Or am I just at a point? Did I lose when Job was going through all that shit? Was he losing all that stuff, or were things being taken away from him that he didn't need? Because after all that suffering, after all that shit was done, after everything, he still had the things that was important, even if it was just his essence, and was rewarded all these other things after the fact, after all that suffering. So it's kind of like, are we in a state where we're going through all this suffering, we're losing all this stuff, but are we losing things that we actually care about? Because, Job lost his, I think he had like a wife and kids and all types of shit. You can assume that he was like, for the time period, for what's implied, he might have been an entrepreneur, just was doing well for himself, and he had the wife and kid, the family of a situation that is around when you're doing good, but leaves when you're struggling. It wasn't struggle family. So as soon as those things crumbled, those things went with him. Went with the success that he had and came with the success he had. So there are things that may be falling away during this time that don't stand in the shakeups. The things that are still standing when you go through the shakeups are the things that are actually be worth something. And the things that are being broken down may seem like the most horrible thing that could possibly happen. It's like, how could I lose this? And you're losing it because it's not for you anymore. 8 of Coins. There's another confirmation on here as well, is that you may have been putting work into fixing things that didn't necessarily require your involvement. Sometimes when you haven't been necessarily addressing the things that require your attention is because you're involving yourself in energy fixes of other people or other situations that are just easier. You have the Pisces, you have the best ability to fix other people's situations rather than actually address or fix your own. Sometimes it's because of your natural ability to just kind of dive in and saturate yourself with the happenings and energy that's already flowing through a current. You do very well with momentum that's already flowing. So if it's there, you'll kind of just like, oh yeah, let me just kind of jump on the conveyor belt. So just having the 8 of Coins, and there's definitely an inversion in this is showing that there's more work that needs to be done, but you have been putting work into the wrong things, or you haven't been feeling like putting work into the things that seem too daunting, particularly as they relate to you. Anything that's kind of surrounding you, you've been kind of playing the pacifism role in the nature. And that actually can explain why you're seeking hidden treasures, but you're not necessarily being out on the forefront. And you're looking for hidden things because you're in hidden places, or you're in places that are behind the scenes. 6 of Baskets. Some of the hiddenness may actually be coming from the fact that you're trying to honor connections and situations that you don't want to upset. It's kind of like you're stroking the egos and keeping the people happy, and these friendships are very tribal. And for you to step away would be seen as like an affront, or it would be taken personal, but it would only be taken personal because the people involved are only considering themselves. So you're feeling the energy of feeling like if you step away that you will be upsetting this person. But the upset that you're feeling towards this person is the fact that they're not allowing a space for you to have your own emotional container for the things that you want to do for yourself and your path. So there's an issue with stability and harmony. You may actually need to, I don't necessarily say cut off some friends or connections that you're having, but you need some time away so that you can clearly discern your energy field and decide what treasures and what values that you actually want to have for you, because some of the things that you're seeking are actually motivated by other people, and you're seeking them because it's like, damn, this would be good for everybody. They would like this. And it's like, okay, you are kind of involved in that day, but you haven't been giving yourself enough. And the things that you have been giving yourself have been rushed. So once things settle down, you're kind of like, damn, like this hurts a lot more than I expected. And it hurts because you didn't read the fine print to know that there would be a downtime, or to know that you should be doing this when you do this. So for Pisces, ultimately, definitely moving through this Aquarius season, you look for things that give you anchor. You know, your Pisces is a water sign, and you're mutable water. So there's really not a solid bone in your metaphysical makeup. So that's why it's not surprising when you get with not water signs, but you get with earth signs, or just people with grounded placements, or you like to have a sense of grounding at times because you need that. With this Aquarius energy, it can be a little upheaving. On one end, it could be great because you may discover yourself shifting rapidly into things that you had never considered before. But on the other end, there may be a sense of kind of being lost in the vastness of everything that's dropped into your energy field. So that sense of that energy that you're feeling like even though you've gone far, you kind of come back to the same place, is coming from the fact that when you feel like you're in the center of feeling small, when you look at something that is larger than you're able to comprehend in your perspective, like looking at the backdrop of the universe, it makes you kind of space out because you don't have an anchor point. And that's kind of what's going on with you now. Your connections, 6 of Cups, your connections and where you find yourself in the center is so vast with what the requirements it requires in the energy to maintain or to keep this afloat, that you may have lost your sense of purpose within the identity. And I think a lot of Aquarius, when we are faced with just Sun Aquarius, we feel that feeling of like, okay, if I need to kind of break away, I'm going to do that. And some of that energy can be very conducive or beneficial for you during this time. One of the things I will say is kind of leaving Pisces as we wrap this up is really just bringing awareness as you move through the Aquarius season and asking yourself, in what ways are you actually contributing for your greater good? Because Aquarius is the 11th house. So it makes me think 1, which is self, plus 1 more, which is 2 ones, and that's 11. So that's the collective. So there's definitely a lot of clashes with how you relates to the collective. And how are you actually healthily balancing or harmonizing and creating stability for the connections, 6 of Cups, that you tell yourself are important? Maybe it's time for you to stop actually putting work in, which is why we see the 8 of Coins. You've been putting so much extra effort into things that are already in place that it may not require any more effort. It may be time for you to actually get back to you. So how are you actually getting back to you? Definitely think about that and decide that as you take your divine breath and you move through the weeks in the Aquarius week and how the values are shifting within your space. Anybody that needs to hear this, definitely make sure to share or send them this message, drop a comment, and definitely let me know your thoughts. Definitely share the love, and I'm really rooting for you. Really rooting for you during this Aquarius season and all the blessings that are transpiring for you during this time. Let's see, after this, I know we'll be moving on to fire signs. We're going to take like an intermission and see if we'll just crank that out tonight. But this was definitely the wrap up for the water signs. So I'll be expanding on part 2 with the chakra sign breakdowns on YouTube. Most likely you'll be hearing about that tomorrow or the day after. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. Much love, many blessings, and ashe.